Hello folks, I'm glad you can make it. And again, it's the 2-week roundup where, as you know, we look at the last 2 weeks' gaming videos, see which ones we looked at and put them in some kind of order. And this time we're in the glorious country of Portugal! Hurrah! Capital city Lisbon, with a population of 10.46 million. That's not very many really. I thought there was more people in Portugal than that, but it's all about learning on this channel. Now, as we all know, Portugal is in the southern west of Europe and it's tagged on the side of Spain. We're all good at geography, so we know that already. And if you live in Portugal, I know a couple of you might do, you already know where Portugal is. Well, at least I hope you do. Otherwise, you'd go shopping and then can't find your way back. What's this behind me? Well, it's Belém Tower. No, haven't you heard of it? It's sometimes called the Tower of St Vincent, but it's we're in Lisbon here, and this is built in the early 16th century and commissioned by not King John, that would have been impossible. It was commissioned by King John II, or was it the first? Anyway, it was one of those two dudes. It was someone called John anyway. I don't think it was John Ketley, the weatherman, but it was Tower of Belém. Now, before we get cracking, I don't want this 2-week roundup to get a bit generic, but we do have a set order about things. So before we get going, we'll have a look at the 2 pinball arcade tables we had a glance at. We don't include these in the top 6, but we at least have a look at them to see what ones we've done. Does that make sense? Probably. These are from season 2. Behind me is a rather impressive bridge in Porto, so we're zipping around Portugal like nobody's business. It's called, have you guessed it? No, it's called the Dom Louis I Bridge, I think, but my pronunciation might be wrong. It's a double-decker bridge made of metal. You don't get too many of those about. Opened in 1886. It's a bridge. Good. Excellent. Not to get confused with the card game bridge, but the Dom Louis Bridge, that's pretty impressive. I think it spans at its maximum about 300 metres. I might be wrong there. But anyway, pinball. The first table we looked at was based on the film by James Cameron. It's Terminator 2 Judgment Day. The best, I think, of the whole of the movie franchise is the second one, where that annoying little kid, John Connor, has to... well, he makes friends with the Terminator, doesn't he, and doesn't get killed. Was that a spoiler? I don't know. But this table is rather good, and also it's quite unique in the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger himself provided the voices for this. So normally on these sort of tables you get someone doing the impersonations, which you can tell isn't quite them. This is definitely all Arnie. No other characters though, like Linda Hamilton or the T-1000 doing voice effects. It is Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that isn't a bad thing, to be honest, because the guy is an absolute legend. Terminator 2 Judgment Day. This is one of the highlights of the whole of season 2, I think. And the second table we looked at wasn't quite as good as Terminator 2, but it's okay, I suppose. It's Teed Off, not to get confused with Peed Off, which you are if a car runs your foot over. This is Teed Off. It's a pinball game based around golf, which isn't my favourite sport, and if I had to pick a golfing table, I'd probably pick No Good Golfers before this one. And I have reviewed that one, so if you want to have a look at No Good Golfers, that's it, have a look at that. This is Teed Off. It's got some drop targets in the middle and a putting green at the top left, I believe, and you have to complete 9 holes. There's a gopher in the middle and a nice spinny thing and a couple of drop holes. But apart from that, it's okay. It's fun, but it isn't the best of my pinball tables. Now this rather splendid piece of Gothic architecture behind me is the Potala Monastery, which I probably pronounced wrong again, in the town of Potala. I can't remember what precinct that is in, but if you're from Portugal, let me know below. Now this is pretty special because this particular monastery took over a century to build, spanning the reign of 7 different kings. It started in 1386 and they didn't finish it till 1517, so that's hell of a job. So if you got a construction job on this, then you knew you had a job for life, unless you didn't, unless it was right near the end. But if it was near the beginning, you know you was doing quite well. But anyway, enough of this historical interlude stuff, and let's have a look at the 6 videos, starting from the 6th one, basically the one we like the least, well I like the least, you probably disagree, and then going up to the first. In 6th place this week then was a game on the ZX Spectrum called BOULDER-2 Rockford's Riots, published by Prism Leisure Corporation in 1985. Now this followed hot on the heels of the original game Boulder Dash, which wasn't a bad game, although I didn't rank it very highly in that week's 2-week roundup. Now they've committed a crime on this game. It's the same game. They just repackaged it with different levels, and the colours are more garish and the levels aren't quite as clever and it isn't as fun to play. Sequels are supposed to evolve, but the man you control is identical. Basically they've lifted exactly the same graphics and it's a heinous crime. I mean, you'd get a few minutes out of it if you was unaware of the first game, but if you bought this having owned the first one, then I know there was a Boulder-3, a Boulder-4 and a Boulder-5, so I won't review those for quite some time because I suspect they're all going to be exactly the same. So it's because of that lack of creative imagination I've placed Boulder-2 Rockford's Riot in 6th place, and quite rightly so. If you think it should be higher after I come to the end of this, then you comment below, but you'll be a very brave person. In 5th place then, stepping up, is our American Pool on the PlayStation 1. Now PlayStation games generally do quite good in my roundups, and we'll come to why this one didn't. It was by Midas in 2002 and it aims to create the game of American Pool, or 9-ball pool, and there's lots of options here. You can have training, 2-player I think, and also competition mode, tournament mode, but the physics are all wrong on this table. I mean, you can move the cue up and down, which is good, but there's so many other pool games, especially on the Commodore Amiga and the like, that are not this to touch. This isn't an advancement for the times. And the balls just run on forever. There don't seem to be any friction on the tablecloth, the base. You do a soft shot, the ball can bounce up and down the table about 2 or 3 times. And that ruins the whole thing for me. I mean, generally I'm not so bad at pool games, but this one I struggle just because it's really difficult to position the ball, really. I prefer English pool, but you know, that's because I'm in England. If I grew up in America or US, I would probably prefer US pool. But either way, even if this was English pool represented here, I'd still not like it because the ball physics aren't particularly good. The music, which I deliberately kept on in the video, I could have turned off just to get you an idea of how tedious it was, and it just goes round in a monotonous circle. 5th place, and it's lucky it didn't come 6th, but Boulder-2 rescued it from that hellhole. And in 4th place, now a bit of a leap in quality here, but still not making it to the top 3, is TOCA World Touring Cars on the Game Boy Advance, published by Ubisoft in 2003. Not a bad game, but when you put it alongside other racing games on the Game Boy Advance, such as Colin McRae 2 and V-Rally and various other ones in that sort of genre, it sort of like falls short, really. This game originally came out on the PlayStation 1 and this has been converted, but yeah, they should have tried something else, really. Graphically it's okay-ish, the sound's sort of okay and it plays not too bad, but at the end of the day you can say it's just okay. There's a lot of options though. There's the British Touring Car season, Japan, and a couple of other ones. Different weather and effects, so it does rain, so it's not terrible, but it's not absolutely brilliant either if you have to push me on it. So in 6th place then was Boulder-2 Rockford's Riot. 5th place American Pool by Midas, and the 4th place is TOCA World Touring Cars on the Game Boy Advance, and this is the Potala Monastery, which took over 100 years to build. Yeah. Now we're at the Praia de Rocha, which I'm sure I pronounced that wrong as well. But this is where all the cool people hang out. Yeah, there's surfing and there's nightlife and there's beach girls and the big beach blokes, and we're all happening here. So a great place to end the 2-week roundup, if I don't say so myself. We're in the Algarve, and I forgot my suntan lotion because we are definitely here live. Yeah, don't forget that this isn't trickery or anything. We are definitely here. Yeah. Anyway, the top 3 in third place this time round was. It's an arcade conversion. It was Final Fight by US Gold in 1991, converted from the arcades. There's a few other better versions on different systems, but I quite like this. I mean, when you look at genre of games on the Commodore Amiga, it did tend to struggle with these fighters. There was Shadow Warriors and a few others which didn't really come up to scratch, but Final Fight's not too bad. It isn't perfect, let me tell you. There's a few perspective problems with the characters and the sets, but I haven't seen the arcade versions. There might be that as well. I'll be looking at this game on the Game Boy Advance quite soon, so it'll be interesting to see how those two compare. But US Gold didn't do too badly on this one in 1991. I understand that originally, when this game was in production, it was supposed to be a sequel to Street Fighter, but that was abandoned. You control up to 3 characters, a choice of 3, an ex-pro wrestler called Hagar, some chap called Cody, and his duff mate called Guy. Looks a bit like Ryu from Street Fighter. I'm sure that isn't coincidental. That's an easy word to say. And you must rescue Jessica, who for some reason is kidnapped and just in her bra. Weirdness. Anyway, that's a good game and deserved third place this time. It deserved to be in the top half. Now here we go, the top 2. In second place, Trans Am by the fantastic Ultimate Play the Game on the ZX Spectrum from 1983. You're in apocalyptic world where you control this race car. It's a bit like a Mad Max area. While driving all the way around America, you must collect 5 ultimate cups. I don't know why, but once you collected them, the game is over. But all the time you have to avoid crashing into other computer-controlled cars who are doing the same thing. Collect fuel so you don't get stranded in the middle of the desert somewhere. And also you have to slow down every now and again to prevent your car from overheating. One rather cool bit in this game is that there's nighttime stages as well, so every so often, it seems a bit at random really, you're driving at night, which does actually add an extra dimension to the game. I think this is an absolute gem, this one. Some people say it's dated, but in terms of, well, all retro games are to a certain degree, but in terms of retro gaming, I like this. I'm a fan of Trans Am. That might be in my my top 10 games if I ever do one, but we'll have to look. There's a lot of competition, but Trans Am, a good racing game. You get hold of that for the ZX Spectrum. I fully recommend it. Check out the review first. So, what does that leave then? Well, if you watch every video, well done you. I don't think everyone does, but all I can ask is you watch some. But if you followed every video this week, you'll know what's in first place already. And it's an absolute cracker. It's a motorbiking game. It's no second prize on the Commodore Amiga. Published by Thalion in 1992. I don't know much about this this publishing outfit. I'll have to look up a few more of their games, but this one is an absolute gem. It doesn't seem like it should be. It's fast polygon motorbike racing, and boy does it move, but you're controlling it on the mouse. Yeah, that seems like a disaster, doesn't it, waiting to happen. A racing game on a motorbike controlling it on the mouse, but with practice you do get gradually better on it, although in the review I did come last in my race. I was at Paul Ricard, but it's great. And another good thing for the beginner is, if you fall behind the main pack, there's a lot of really slow amateur riders riding around that aren't part of the race, so you have to avoid them as well, so you can concentrate on overtaking them. But it's really, really fast, this game. Check it out. I mean, it's even faster than Formula 1 Grand Prix by Jeff Crammond, and I'll certainly be coming back to this game in my spare time. A really worthy first place, no second prize by Thalion in 1992. So, the top 3 then, which made the podium this week as we groove on this rather hot beach. Third place, Final Fight by US Gold, Commodore Amiga. Second place, Trans Am, Ultimate Play the Game, 83 on the ZX Spectrum. And in glorious first place, as you know, no second prize, also on the Commodore Amiga by Thalion in 1992. So there we have it, people. Thank you for joining me on this ride, and hopefully there'll be more rides to come, because, well, we won't be giving up anytime soon. I don't think so, unless the house is hit by a meteorite, and that could happen. So if there's no videos up all of a sudden, we've been hit by a meteorite. But that's it from glorious Portugal today. I hope you liked seeing the videos, and I do appreciate your comments and all of those. The glorious Portuguese flag there behind me. So till next time then, take care and goodbye. Oh, actually, one thing I would say, because people always ask me, that video, that game in between the sections was F17 Championship. No, F17 Challenge, I think that was it, by Team 17 on the Portuguese track. Yes, until next time then, take care and wrong hand. That's back to old school. I used to do wrong hand. Until next time then, goodbye.
Goodbye.